Now, Reform UK has decided to have a hierarchical shake-up after they won 5 seats in Parliament, announcing Richard Tice as their new deputy leader, Zia Youssef as chairman and Lee Anderson as the chief whip. So the new structure, however, does leave former deputy leader Ben Habib seemingly out in the cold, just a week after he failed to win his Wellingborough seat at the general election. He did hit back earlier today. He wrote, "I have just been informed by Nigel Farage that Richard Tice is taking over as deputy leader of the party. Consequently, I no longer hold that position. I am considering my position more generally in light of this change. I've long held concerns about the control of the party and the decision-making process. I will reflect on all of this." Well, Anne, thank you very much for joining us now. Is Ben Habib right to suggest that there might be certain issues behind the scenes here at Reform? It doesn't seem like a particularly united front now.
I have been speaking to Ben Habib this afternoon, and as he says, he is quite literally reflecting on the situation that has arisen. Now, it was quite obvious. First of all, your chief whip's got to be in Parliament, so that had to go to Lee Anderson. Secondly, it's also quite obvious that once Nigel had come back as leader, Richard Tice was in limbo for some time. He had no formal position. So obviously, the obvious position for him is deputy leader. And that leaves the 2 previous deputy leaders being asked to do other things, on which, as far as I can make out, they're reflecting, which is fine.
I suppose one of the issues is that it does appear to have been quite a meteoric rise for Zia Youssef, who, let's be honest, until a couple of months ago, or even maybe a few weeks ago, was not as well known as he is now. I just wonder if there are issues of loyalty there when it comes to Ben.
No, I really don't think they are. The party is profoundly grateful for all that Ben Habib has done, and I, for one, fervently hope that he keeps on doing it, because he is our spokesman for the union, and he has been terrific in the work that he's done in Northern Ireland, and I don't think that anybody else could have done it as well. So, no, I think, this is a very straightforward business. There's been a reshuffle, and people have now got to think where they want to go from here.
OK, all right. Well, look, I'll whiz us on to another story. Keir Starmer has popped across to the United States this week, where his potential plans to rebuild Britain's relationship with the EU received high praise.
And there's a lot going on. I think you're seeking closer ties in Europe is good for all of us, the Transatlantic Alliance. I think it's a great idea that we're going to be working together on.
Is that the best advert for Brexit ever? Someone like Joe Biden endorsing closer ties with Europe, isn't it? What day of the week it is?
Well, come on, he doesn't know what day of the week it is, and, he obviously had that scripted and managed most of it. But the fact is, he is anti-British, he is anti-Brexit. We know how he behaved in Ireland. And talked about not letting the Brits screw around, and I'm quoting him now, not being vulgar. Those were his words. So I don't expect him to be friendly to an independent Britain. He'd much rather have us in Europe. Well, tough, Joe. That's a matter for the British people, not you.
Yeah, indeed. But it actually feeds me into my next point here, which is especially really in your brief, in your capacity with a focus on migration when it comes to reform as well, because migrant madness has once again hit the Polish border. So spear-wielding illegal migrants have launched a deadly recent attack on EU border guards, OK? It's left several injured. One 21-year-old guard died. Right, the barrage of missiles came from the Belarusian side of the border. Now, this, for me, Anne, is a big problem with what the Labour Party are looking at doing at the moment. Well, they say, we'll stop the boats and we'll look at some kind of returns agreement or whatever we can with the EU. Yeah, fine. But unless we can stop that lot coming in, we could end up with spear-wielding illegal migrants here, couldn't we?
Well, the fact is that if we go down the route of agreeing any sort of free movement with the European Union, anything at all in return for closer cooperation, then, we're going to be absolutely out of control, and we're already out of control, and Keir Starmer is doing nothing about it. Let's be clear about that. By ditching Rwanda without putting anything in its place other than a lot of international talk, which is actually what he said. I think it was quite right. I forget who said it today, but some Conservative said, he's, James Cleverly, I think, he's actually hung, a great welcome sign from the cliffs of Dover, and he has.
I'm just going to ask, I don't know if it's possible, if we could just have another look at some of those spear throwers there, because I think it is really quite graphic stuff. And, it does emphasise really what the problem is. So, it's all very well and good for Keir Starmer to say, oh, look, hey, we're going to scrap Rwanda and we're going to smash the gangs and we're going to do all of this. But that is something we're seeing on our screens there that he is not in control of. He's not in control of the Polish border, and he's not in control of what people other countries decide to let through. And there is nothing, if we were to sign up to some kind of EU illegal migrant quota system, there is nothing to say that one or many of those people wouldn't end up here as a result of it. They just wouldn't have taken a boat to get here. We'd have flown them in.
And I mean, it's worth pointing out that if they're behaving that way, it's very difficult to see them as, poor souls fleeing persecution. I mean, they are not. That we have to be very clear about. And you're quite right. If there's any give at all, either in terms of quotas or in terms of freedom of movement or anything of that sort, or in terms of what restrictions we put in place as far as migrants go, any laxity in that could indeed result in that sort of thing over here.
I mean, it is. I find the whole thing absolutely terrifying. Really, seriously, that we are okay. The Rwanda thing was a bit of a dud. It's been an expensive dud. We're not going to get any money back from Rwanda.
Rwanda.
Yeah.
Give us our money back. I mean, we've broken the agreement, not them.
Yeah, we've defrauded ourselves. I mean, we've basically defrauded ourselves. So we've had essentially all of the cost of Rwanda without ever really even giving it that much of a chance to work. I'm not convinced it would have worked anyway, but we are where we are. With no other plan in place, as far as I can tell at all. You've got spear-throwing illegal migrants breaking into Europe as we speak, potentially making their way across the continent to us. And what is to stop them? But just time for one more quick one with you, Anne, if that's all right, because among those people who voted Tory in 2019, but not in 2024, so people who went and voted Reform, really, Nigel Farage is by far the favourite candidate to be the next Tory leader on 25%. What are the chances of that, do you think, Anne?
I don't think they're very high. I'm sure we will look favourably on applications from Conservatives to join Reform, but I don't think we want to run that rabble at the moment.
Would you have Suella Braverman?
If she applies.
Okay, all right. Anne Widdecombe, thank you very much. You take